Hey guys, this is Andrew from Lang Racing Development. Today I wanted to talk to you about our Mustang 500 SE all-wheel drive dyno, what it can do, and what people use it for. A lot of people think that dynos are just for strictly measuring power output, how much power is my car making, but it actually can be used for a lot more than that as a troubleshooting tool. So I wanted to go into some detail about how you could use it to find out different things about your car, what the next modification should be, if there's any problems with the current setup, and what you can do to, what the dyno can tell you to help you know what to do to address those issues. So the car that we have on the dyno today is an S65 powered E92 M3 with a supercharger kit on it from ESS. And we've been running it just to make sure it's healthy. It's in the initial break-in stage. I have a couple charts I wanted to run through with you just to show you what the dyno is capable of logging and how you can use that information to determine if your car is running well or if there's things that need to be addressed. So this chart here is engine power versus boost pressure, and this chart is actually in PSI. So we know the supercharger at peak, which is about 8,600 RPM, should make 14 PSI. We're not quite running it all the way up there yet because we're still breaking it in and troubleshooting. But what you want to see is this nice straight curve of boost. You don't want to see it kind of falling off and tapering off. That sometimes happens when you're first troubleshooting a setup. Maybe you get a boost leak towards the top end. And we want to see it get up to 14 PSI at the peak. If you imagine this line going straight, you could see it would get up to 14 once we get to 8,600 RPM. So that's just one thing you can do to troubleshoot a boosted setup with the dyno. This is a chart of engine power versus air-fuel ratio at the tailpipe. Because we're measuring at the tailpipe, the resolution and the signal isn't that great right at the beginning over here. But once we see it come down here, what we're looking for is, on this supercharged car, we're looking for an AFR of around 11 to 12, staying underneath 12, especially once we're starting to reach higher boost levels. So we should see it kind of richen up a little bit. Gradually, the chart should richen up closer to 12 once we get to red line. What we're seeing here is that the car is starting to become a little lean towards higher RPM. So this is an indication there might be some kind of fueling problem. We're gonna go back and monitor fuel pressure and make sure that fuel pressure is staying consistent all the way to red line. Different applications are going to be looking for different numbers for the AFR. So a naturally aspirated car, you might just be looking around 13 at full throttle. Turbocharged cars, you might be getting down to 10 at full boost. So it just depends on the application, what kind of numbers we're looking for. This is another chart of engine power versus ignition timing. So on more modern cars, our dyno can log via OBD the ignition timing on cylinder 1, which is really useful when you're trying to figure out if your tune is too aggressive or if you need better fuel. If your tune is too aggressive or the fuel quality is too low, you'll start to see a lot of usually timing events where the ECU is retarding timing, and usually you see these large spikes in this orange graph right here. You can see this car is running pretty good. We have a low compression engine that was built for high boost, so we were expecting this chart to look about like this, but the ignition timing kind of peaks up around the low torque area, and then towards red line, the ignition time, as boost increases, ignition time is kind of climbing down. And we're not seeing any large dips in the ignition timing curve, so we know the car's not, the ECU isn't pulling ignition timing on this engine, so that's what we want to look for, a healthy chart. So this chart, I know it looks a little complicated, but this is just something we did to show the types of data that we can overlay. So these are two different cars, another supercharger setup with less boost. And we're just trying to show and examine, the differences in the boost pressure and the differences in the power. So what alarmed me about this is that we have a lot more boost in this particular car, same engine, same setup, but our power is not really that much better. It's about the same. So we're going to go back and try and figure out why we're not making as much power as we expect. And we've got a lot of data on this dyno of different cars that have similar setups to probably what you have. So once we run your car, we like to go and find another chart for a similar car and see how it compares to see if you're making about the right amount of power, if the ignition timing is similar to another car with a similar setup, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of reasons that come and have your car dyno. There's a lot of data we can collect, and we have a knowledgeable team here that can analyze that data for you and give you a lot of information about the health of your car and what you might need to do for your future modifications to get the most out of your vehicle.